Hello everyone. So right now you can see that I'm home. I rushed to get home because my wife is sick right now, so asking for prayers for her. And she's actually pregnant also, and I'm a little bit worried because she's alone here, so I rushed to come here. I'm actually working far from this area, like 100 kilometers away from home, 3 hour drive, 4 hour drive for me. And I rushed to come here and see her. She's sounds asleep right now, snoring and things. So can't sleep, so I decided to have a podcast. And thank you for listening, dropping here in my podcast again. So this podcast is still brought to you by Space Tech. For those who are in Mankayan, Benguet, Philippines, of course, you can call 0946-952-3933 if you have problems with your computers or printers, especially teachers around that area needs a reset for the printers or problems on their computer. You can call 0946-952-3933 Space Tech, and they'll get there and help you. You can also visit their Facebook page. They share information about technology, security on cyberspace, and a lot of things about computers. So visit Space Tech, like their page, and also you can also text them if you need help on your computer. So I was actually not keen doing a podcast right now. It's 12:21 a.m. But I made a commitment that I'll be doing podcast a week, and I was thinking last week of sharing this book I read, and the title of that book is The 12 Rules of Life, an Antidote to Chaos by Dr. Jordan Peterson. So those who didn't know Jordan Peterson, so I heard about him in a Joe Rogan podcast, and he was very controversial at the time because based on my understanding of their conversation in the podcast, he's the only professor of a university who has the balls to go against woke culture. Woke culture is like trying to show changing rules, like we should not do that one because that is racist, being racist, things like that, and trying to cancel people who made mistakes, digging on their Twitter, something like that. It's cancel culture and political correctness, like you're not allowed to say things right now because it's what do you call that one? I can't remember the English word for that. We can't say things to other people because it's bad, something like that. That there are too many actually, that if you are not in the internet in a regular basis, you will not be able to catch up with these new things that's happening. So Jordan Peterson is the professor who says that will lead into chaos if it continues, and try to explain his point in Joe Rogan. That's when I heard about him, and then I also I saw him in Joe Rogan, and then I tried to know more about him. So I searched him on YouTube, and mostly that's and I'm wondering about this. Mostly sometimes when you search about him in Google, the first article that comes out is an article like destroying him, destroying his name, and I cannot, I don't know, every time I do that, the article that comes about him is always negative. Like I have to scroll down to see the Wikipedia page about him. Now, you want to know more about him? You can visit his YouTube channel. It's a YouTube channel where he uploads his video about his on his lectures. So, what I'll be talking about is that book that he wrote, the 12 Rules of Life. That a rule or a principle that we can use or apply in our daily lives, and I want to share it to all my listeners, all the people watching right now. And if you have a chance to buy the book, then I highly suggested that you buy it. Or if you're like me, driving around for like 3 hours every week, I drive 4 hours twice a week going to my work and coming home, and sometimes I don't listen to music. I do use my time of traveling listening to books, and in that way I can still use that wasted 4 hour time of driving. So this one is the one that I want to share with you right now, and so I'll be stating the rule. I'm not going to read all the things, but I'm going to state the rule and then read something about that. This is a summary from Conquer.today that I'll be borrowing, and then I'll be sharing you my opinion also. Okay, so let's start with the first rule, and the first rule is this: stand up straight with your shoulders back. So, according to this one, our brains are constantly manufacturing a chemical known as serotonin, and it helps us regulate things like mood, confidence, and energy. There's an interesting relationship between serotonin and status. As you climb up a social or self-esteem ladder, your serotonin will increase. So, should we work to increase serotonin first in order to make positive progress? It can't hurt. One of the most fundamental and primitive ways to show you hold yourself in decent regard and improve your serotonin output is to simply stand up straight with your shoulders back before you dive into the other hard work of building a successful life. You can start here for a quick win. So, the rule is stand up straight with your shoulders back. What it's trying to tell us is that always, in every way, in the way you move, always move and act in a positive and strong way. It's the reason why. Stand up straight, shoulders back. Okay? Because that's like the posture of a soldier, and soldiers are trained to stand to show power, strength. And if you do that, of course, according to this one, the serotonin being produced will increase also, which will change your mood, of course. And of course, you couple it with your work, doing the things you exerting effort, then it will change your life. There was a TED talk I listened to, watch, yeah, 2-3 years ago, so I cannot remember the name, but she's a woman, and she got into a very prestigious university for smart people, of course, and she got into an accident and her IQ was like reduced to a very under the average level, so she cannot cope up with the things that's with the curriculum of that school. But luckily, she had a guardian angel, a professor who really believed in her, and she tried to teach her. But of course, because the IQ was damaged due to the accident, she cannot really she cannot really cope up with the daily lessons that they're having. And then the advice that was given to her was, you have to fake it, like act like you know it, act like you know it, act like you are doing well, and then at the same time study. And then she passed, she finished her degree in that university. So the advice that she gave to those who are trying hard would be, you have to fake it until you make it. The only thing there's that faking it will only take you to until like a couple of distance, but won't take you but won't really bring you to where you want to be. So it should be you fake it and then work on it until you make it. So assuming a positive posture in your everyday life will always at least get you through things. Okay, so that's the first rule. Stand up straight with your shoulders back. Number 2, treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. And this is the thing here that was written. Did you know that people are better at filling and administering prescription medications to their pets than themselves? Why is that? The problem might lie in our worldview and how we secretly and even consciously live in shame. When we grow up, we begin to notice things like cruelty, unfairness, fear, and our ability to participate in all of it. Why would anyone in their right mind want to keep a system like that going? Instead, focus on the incredible productivity and achievements of humanity. Believe in your own ability to care for others and the role you will play make this world a little bit better. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping, so in turn you can help the rest of us. So it says there's that you need to determine why you are going, where you are going, so what you can bargain, so that you can bargain for yourselves, so that you end up resentful and cruel. You need to articulate your own principles so you can defend yourself against others taking advantage of you. You must keep the promises you make to yourself and reward yourself so that you can trust and motivate yourself. Rule number 2, treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. At times, we really don't give enough for ourselves and we give more for other people. But according to Jordan Peterson's book is that you have to treat yourself the same as you treat you treat other people. There are, I don't know if you observe this to yourself, that you really, and we call that noble deed, right? Selfless act. But in order to keep going on doing that, you have also to think of yourself. Like at times you really, there are times that before you do these things, or before you eat something, you would think of other people around and you share, and it's okay if you don't have the food, as long as your family or other people get something to eat, and you would starve, and eventually sometime and you would get sick, things like that. And according to the book, you have to you have to treat yourself the way you are treating other people. So if you love the people, you also love yourself as you love the other people. Something like that, right? Number 3, make friends with people who want the best for you. And it's very difficult, right? There are times that we cannot really know the friend we have, but just look at it this way. Those friends that you want you to get better are your real friends, and those friends that will put you down so they will feel better about themselves are not your friends. So I think we all have that one friend we love dearly, but they struggle, and perhaps you try to help them over and over again. But the one thing they cannot do is to help themselves. It's a sad fact that sometimes people choose to stay in a place, a low-grade misery, instead of putting the hard work to change. We're all probably guilty of that somewhere in our own lives. It's not easy to surround yourself with healthy people. It's not easy to distance yourself from those who can be deadly to your growth over long term. But a good friend will not tolerate your destructiveness. They will encourage you when you do good and will punish you when you do not. They won't offer a former smoker a cigarette. Make friends with those who wants the best for you. Okay. You know, making friends, there's a lot of levels to it, and there's a lot of reason why you like that friend. But you can still be friends with all the people that you have, but just, I mean, take an inspiration or be with people always in a regular basis with people that you see can encourage you, can have a positive effect on you. So I have this friend in college when I was in first year college who always during our break time will take out our notes and will always study and just keeps on reading even when we are drinking. He keeps on he will bring out his notes and try to read what he have written during that day. And I was so inspired by his diligence that I tried doing that also. Well, too bad we only had a class together for one semester, and then he dropped out, and then I don't know, the habit did not stick to me. So, but that's a friend I can remember because growing up I really didn't have a studying habits. I just wing it, as they say. I'm a wide reader, that's why when it comes to essay or English subjects and things like that, I can easily write or have something. If they ask me to write an article, because I'm reading a lot of books, but when it comes to math, well, that's the time you use your resourcefulness. Ask your classmates for help. And they really didn't have studying habits. And then when I met the friend, well, he helped me a lot. And like I said, too bad that we did not have a longer time together. And if we had, maybe that habit was developed for me. Well, it's not too late, right? So according to this one, make friends with people who wants the best for you, and who can inspire you to Be the best that you can become. Next is compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not who someone else is today. Never compete with other people. So just compare yourself to who you are yesterday and try to change it than comparing yourself to other people today. Let me read this one for you. We all have internal critics and they can be brutal, but critics, internal and external, are necessary. We can't have doctors who think they're amazing but can't stitch a cut together. The problem is we tend to categorize every aspect of our lives as either a success or failure. There's so much more to it. There's not just one game to play here. If you're not a good athlete, then be a good writer. If you're not a good writer, then be a good parent. You're one singular being out of billions. To take one frame of comparison like wealth or power and put up against the world is completely unfair. Judge yourself only on your attempt and impact on making this world a little bit better of a place. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not who someone else is today. And this is sometimes the reason why a lot of people are not happy in their life, because they are looking at their surroundings and comparing their situations to someone else's situation. Why not look at who you were yesterday and see how far you've become? Things like that, right? Because if you compare yourself to people around you, then that will be the source of frustrations, which will become a negative thing to you and will always reduce your energy. So always think, let's just put it this way, rule number 4, be the better self, be the better you today than you are yesterday, just like that. Each of the day is another day of improvement, so improve yourself, look at yourself in the past, and try to go forward. Going forward, improving yourself every day. Do not look at the improvement that is happening to other people. That's their life. You focus on your life, because that's the only thing that you can control. Your life is the only thing that you can control. Not you can never control other people's life or improvement. Moving on, number 5. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. So let me read this one and then I'm gonna explain, or I'm gonna share my opinion about this. With or without children, we are all affected by the public meltdown of a toddler. Adults are worn out, some children are insanely difficult, but still the all-important job of parenting must be done. It hurts to discipline your child, to assert power over them, to fight for hours over something as simple as eating. But there's something that will hurt much more. A forever poorly socialized and adjusted adult. A misbehaving and obnoxious child at the party is ignored by everyone and doted on by the parents. That's not a good sign of the future. By focusing on setting simple rules, using minimum necessary force, and parenting with a partner so you can avoid burnout and your own ability to be quite harsh to your children in return, you can become a caring proxy for the real world. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them, so they receive the ultimate blessing of being liked by others. I remember when I heard this, I remember the Trevor Noah's book. Those who don't know Trevor Noah, sorry. Sorry for the noise. Looking at the microphone monitor there, and it's turning red. Okay, so I remember the conversation of Trevor and her mom when her mom whipped him, of course, in the butt, and I think Trevor asked her mom, why are you doing that? And by the way, the book I'm talking about is Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah is a comedian, stand-up comedian from South Africa, and he grew during the apartheid period in South Africa. Apartheid period is that there's a rule back in Africa long time ago where it is against the law that a white person will marry a black person. So mixed race is usually frowned upon in that country long time ago, around the 80s, I think, because Trevor Noah is like my age, and he wrote that book, Born a Crime, because he is a mixed race, and in that country it's a crime, so he was born a crime. Now, going back to their conversation, so the conversation, Trevor asked his mom why he's being punished, and Trevor's mom answered, I need to punish you now, because if I won't punish you now, the world will punish you worse than I can. So, in here it says there, do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. Another way of putting it is, let your child, or train your child to obey the rules of society. So you have to make the child understand that there are certain rules that they need to obey, and their training ground is at your home. Actually, set up rules at the house, and they need to obey it. And when they grow, they will be accustomed to following that, knowing that there is in the world there is that constitution that we have to abide, and there's the law that we have to follow, and not following them will usually result to a negative effect, things like that. So disciplining a child, start from talking and removing privileges, and then always resort to the last would be in that book I heard because I did not read it. I heard it from an audiobook that you can resort to weeping, but you have to control it. And the key to controlling your whipping or spanking is never ever do it when you are emotionally charged. When you are angry, never ever do that. That's why it says there that you nurture or train the child with a partner. So of course with your wife or husband. If you're emotionally charged or if you're angry during that time, let your partner handle the disciplining. Things like that. So disciplining a child or teaching the child the rules of society is a 2 months job. Or it takes a lot of people to teach that one. Your extended family, as the African proverbs say, it takes a village to raise a kid, right? But the thing here is, train your child to follow the rules of society, or do not let your children do anything that will make you dislike them. When your child grows up and did not learn to follow the rules of society and did something, did a crime, then Of course, even if you love him, you would really, really dislike them because of the crime. And you would also dislike yourself because you did not do the disciplining when they're still young. So, disciplining and training is very important for the child's growth. And when all the child's when all this disciplined child will grow and become a part of the working society, then of course our world would be more productive. Number 6. Set your house in a perfect order before you criticize the world. In Stephen Covey's book, the 7 Habits of Effective People, I don't know what number is that, but there was this two, it's like the illustration was two circle, and the inner circle is your circle of influence, and the outer circle is the outer influence of others. It's like you can only move to that circle before you can radiate your inner circle, I mean the circle of influence, before you can radiate influence to the outside circle. That's the illustration, I guess, if I'm understanding it right. It means changes starts within, not from other people. Now you are the only person that you can change. You cannot change other people. You start by that. And it's the same here. It says there, never criticize the world if you did not fix your house. So set your house first. Make sure that your house is in good condition, is organized, clean, before you criticize the outside world. And if all of us, I heard that in the last part of the page, if all of us will set our house in perfect order first, then there's nothing really to criticize because everything will be fixed, right? So people is fond of looking at other people and then giving their own comments and sometimes giving their unsolicited advice. Filipinos are good with that. Filipinos are good with that. And the thing there is, and I even saw people giving financial advice, and they're not really financially free. I mean, so you're gonna get the gist, right? Giving advice about something like stop smoking, and while they're doing that, they're smoking. And I'm smoking, and I'm not giving advice. So, we went out of topic here. But what I'm trying to say here is that in this rule is just trying to explain that we have to fix our life first before criticize others, or fix our house. I mean, just focus on the things within your grasp, within your reach, before focusing on others. Things like that. That's rule number 6. Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. Okay, number 7. Pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. Life is suffering. You can learn from almost any religion, or just sit in traffic for a while. The simplest thing to do about that is to pursue pleasure whenever you can. You could relax, intoxicate, and take without giving. But as a human being evolved, we discovered something that has built our entire society. We can make sacrifices and delay gratification in order to develop a better future for ourselves. Living life with meaning means putting aside immediate pleasure, which can often come at the expense of someone else. It means knowing you have a responsibility to yourself and to others to create a better place for us all. You do this by making sacrifices and pursuing what is meaningful, not what is expedient. There are many problems that money does not solve and others makes worse. Rich people still divorce each other, alienate themselves from their children, and suffer from existential angst, and develop cancer and dementia, and die alone and unloved. So, thing here is, pursue what is meaningful. So, you know, number one thing here that we should remember, rule number 7 is the word here, the sentence here is that life is suffering, means life is not fair. Nothing is fair in life, right? And the simplest thing to do about that is to pursue pleasure whenever you can. You can intoxicate, but being human, we discovered something that has built our entire society. So, we know that life is unfair, and to be able to get to where we want to go, we have to, delay gratification and focus on the work until you achieve it, and make that sense of achievement be the gratification that you have. You have to learn how to do or make sacrifices, and you have to see that pursuing what we are pursuing is meaningful. Doing this podcast because I like it. It's my leisure, and at the same time I'm trying to share things, and it's meaningful for me. I'm having this. It's like I'm relaxed at the same time while I'm talking to you and trying to think, and it tries to. It's like an exercise for my brain, and an exercise for me talking without someone. Believe me, I cannot really talk for a long time, or even talk to other people for quite a long time. I love being alone on my phone with my thoughts, just reading like that. And this podcast is helping me express myself in a lot of ways. And it's weird coming from a teacher, but really that is me. I grew up with books, and talking and speaking is somewhat difficult for me because I keep on losing my mind while I'm talking. It's a little difficult, but I'm working on it, being like improving myself, trying to improve myself, and this is the activity that is meaningful for me. That's rule number 7. Next, rule number 8, and most of us is guilty about this. Tell the truth, or at least don't lie. My father always tells me, when you don't have anything good to say, just don't speak, And here, just tell the truth. There are different types of lies. First, we knowingly tell maliciously, hoping to obscure the truth in an effort to avoid pain or gain pleasure. But the other type of lie is more insidious. It is the kind where we don't want to hurt someone's feeling. We want to avoid awkward situation. It can cause all sort of messes over time, especially to your own consciousness. Sometimes you have no idea what to do or say. Just tell the truth. Tell it with strength, confidence, and genuine caring. Taking the easy way out or telling the truth are two different pathways through life and will lead you to drastically different places. Tell the truth or at least don't lie. So, times like your friend is asking you to give your opinion about, his work or, his painting, so to speak, and you saw that it is below or it is subpar. What are you going to say? So are you going to tell the truth, or you are going to take the easy way out and just not to hurt his or her feelings? Well, it's up to you, but here it means tell the truth, or at least don't lie. Well, she asked or he asked for your opinion, so you can share it. You can tell the truth in a genuine, caring manner, right? And it's a lot of work to do that, but it's better than lying, and then finding out later that his work is not good, and that would hurt your friend. And of course, if your friend was hurt, then you are also hurt, right? So telling truth in a very good way that won't demean, won't hurt, or if it hurts other, at least not totally hurt other people, is a skill that we need to practice also. And these rules don't come easy. If you want to apply them in your life, it will take work, but it's an antidote to chaos. And if you don't like chaos, then we have to follow this rule, right? Number 9. Assume that person you are listening to might know something you don't. This is about communication. So, at times we communicate with other people to brag about something. At times when we are listening to people, we're listening and preparing to answer, right? And that's not the art of conversation, or at times we're preparing to give an opinion or to give an advice. That's not the real art of conversation. The real art of conversation is really trying to listening. Real art of listening is trying to understand. There are times that just need to listen. You can figure it out if you're talking to other people. You just listen to it. You don't need to give advice, not unless they ask for it, but just listen to it. Just empathize. Sometimes that's one of the things that I noticed about one of my parents when some people is talking to them, and she immediately gave advice without the other people asking about the advice, just because they are their younger siblings, and that should not be the case. Just listen. And there are times that people keep telling you stories, telling you problems. That's all they need. That's all they need. The only thing they need is just a listening ear. And when they had that, that's the time they will figure out the things that they need to do. There are people that is like that. So just listen and always assume that people know something that you don't. That's how we roll the conversation ball, right? That is how we have a good conversation. Assume that people know something that you don't. Even children, when you're talking to children, children will know something that you don't. And they want to share it with you, and that would be the good connection that you will have with that people, and you will be rolling the conversation ball. Next, be precise in your speech. Things that I am struggling being precise in my speech, like what I'm having right now. Well, English is not my native language. I'm trying to share things in English, but let's just read what they say here. It's written here. So we're supposed to listen and always tell the truth, right? How can being precise help us even further? It's because when things fall apart, your world can turn into chaos. And the best remedy for chaos is language. To put into words what went wrong, how it hurt you, and what you need to do in order to recover. Everything from our relationship to our mental health can health take constant maintenance and feedback. Being precise in your speech, being able to speak courageously and truthful with words doesn't mean the problems will go away, but it does eliminate the crushing anxiety of an undefined and ongoing tragedy. So being precise in your speech. When you're precise in your speech, if you have a problem, you can precisely identify what it is. And if you precisely identify the problem, you can easily find the solution to it, right? So being precise. I cannot remember the example that I heard in this one, but it's like being precise means that you can easily, being precise with your word will train you to identify the smallest and the minute detail or definition of things. And if you are trained to that, or in that way, that will also help you easily define what the problem is, because you are trained in getting the minute, in getting things in precisely, right? And you start by being precise in your speech. And this is ironic because as I'm sharing, being precise in my speech, in speech, but I cannot even have a precise description for this one. Number 11, do not bother children when they're skateboarding. The healthy people don't seek to minimize risk, they seek to optimize it. We are happiest in a sweet spot between safety and skill, pushing ourselves to learn and grow without going off the deep end. Being overprotective or too agreeable or too dependent is a death sentence when it comes to personal success. Take the scary risk to become competent and powerful. Be a strong man or woman. Respect and push each other. Participate in natural hierarchies that exist in societies that seek more to move upward. Don't be afraid to be afraid. Do scary things. Do not bother children who are learning these lessons in real time when they're skateboarding. So, do not, as an adult, do not bother children who are skateboarding. So, that's the simple, like, picture that Peterson showed us. But again, like what we have read here, skateboarding is scary, right? scary for the children, scary for adults who are watching, because it can cause an injury. But when you see Tony Hawk doing that flip, that board flip right there, it is amazing. Now, how did Tony achieve that one, achieve that mastery? Well, of course, by having a lot of bruises, by doing that dangerous skateboarding thing when he was young. And we should not be the gate or the wall that will bar other people to their success, or that will stop other people improve, right? So what I understand here is that let let the children explore, let them be afraid, let them fail, and then let them learn from their failures. And we should not be overprotective, that we will nerf their world, that when they get out of the real world, they will be so lost. So let the children have the training that they needed, of being scared, like what we said a while back. Life is never fair. So if life is never fair, then children should be ready for it, and being trained to be scared. So that's a lot of things will be taught to be having a skateboarding, or entering to a competition that will make them scared, that will teach them a lot of values. So let's not be the wall that will stop the children from improving. It's rule number 11. Rule number 12. Pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. So, I don't know, I can just explain this in a way that, give time. Give a time to help other people. Maybe that's what it says there. That's my understanding. I don't know, but let's try to find out. And that's what I understand when I heard the book. But let's just read the summary here. Human beings are fragile. It's shocking that we aren't in a state of paralyzing fear at all times, with everything dangerous around us. Every one of our lives are going to be filled with pain, disappointment, and loss. Then we die. And if you think too much about that, you're headed straight to the abyss. How do we cope? People, you are very, very tough. And if you focus on the simple and good, you will be able to make it through. If you aim for the stars, deny tragedy from ruling over your life, and take advantage of the small opportunities for peace, you will be okay. So maybe when you're going for a walk and your head is spinning, a cat will show up, and if you pay attention to it, then you will get a reminder for just 15 seconds that the wonder of being might make up for the ineradicable suffering that accompanies it. Pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. So just appreciate the beauty of the world once in a while. It's never wrong, right? Not just going to the street, not going literally to the street and petting a cat, but just take the moment to appreciate life. Take the moment to count your blessing. Doing that will really give you more fuel to go forward. Like I always do that, sitting down and then telling myself when we were in college, we really can't afford to buy a computer. And well, the computer that we want to buy during that time was around 5,000 peso. And still we can't afford it. And now, just looking right now, at least we can afford that if we want to. And we came a very long way from that to today, and I'm very appreciative of that one. Just sitting down and thinking about that, this podcast just reminded me about it, and I'm very thankful of that. So, accordingly, those are the 12 rules of life that we can use, we can apply in our life. So, and hopefully it can help other people. So, I know that I did not explain it well as I should, but I would suggest really that you have to buy the book or listen to the audio book, and it would help us be a better person be the better person than we are yesterday. So if you are keen on improving yourself or working to improve yourself every day, this one is a good book to read, and it's inspiring, and it really would open our mind to the things. And I'm not saying that it's the end all be all of self-improvement, but it might. In my case, it is helping me, like sharing this information. It's like refreshing those things that I read, and then sharing it to you. So it is something to think about, and something to read also. If you don't have time, you want to read something new, so I suggest you read the book. And again, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. And once again, this is El Maestro Speaks. And El Maestro Speaks podcast is signing off. See you again on the next episode.